The sound of gravel crunching under my tires, right there in the middle of a downpour, was all the warning I got before my truck rolled to a stop in front of a barricade that absolutely was not supposed to be there. I'm talking one of those construction site monsters. Chain link panels, concrete feet, blocking my whole driveway like someone had parked a tank sideways just to ruin my morning. For a second, I just stared through the windshield, rain sheeting down, thinking, you've got to be kidding me. And then I saw her, glowing yellow like a hazard sign, standing there under a cheap plastic poncho, holding a clipboard like it was a scepter from some petty kingdom. Gloria Zimmerman, HOA president. Full-time menace. If you've ever tangled with an HOA queen bee, you know exactly the vibe. I threw on my old ball cap, braced myself against the rain, and got out. Gloria, what in the hell is this? I yelled over the storm. She didn't even blink. Didn't even try to sound civil. You're in violation of Article 7, Section 4. No external construction without prior HOA approval. She actually tapped her clipboard, as if that made it law. Now listen, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so damn typical. Gloria, it's a backyard workshop. On my land. Permits from the city, right here. I actually reached for the packet, half expecting her to melt like the Wicked Witch if she saw official paperwork. But she just sneered. Permits don't override HOA guidelines. You should have waited for board review. I almost lost it. You're not the city. You're a retired dental hygienist who thinks she runs a tiny dictatorship. She stiffened, holding her precious clipboard like a shield. I'm enforcing the rules, she snapped. Until this is halted and reviewed, the gate stays. I glanced past her at the workshop frame. My dream project, months in the making. My crew, all bundled up in rain gear, watched from the other side of the fence like they'd paid for front row seats to the circus. You know this is illegal, right? Blocking someone's driveway is trespassing, I said, taking a step closer. She sniffed. I'm not on your property. The gate is technically on the easement. That's when I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over the sheriff's number. Let's see what the law says, huh? Her expression faltered, just a flicker. You wouldn't. I just grinned. Watch me. 20 minutes later, Deputy Carson, guy I'd known since high school, pulled up, stepped out into the rain, and looked for me too. Gloria, back to the barricade. You gotta be kidding me, he muttered. She's blocking my construction site, I said. Gloria, dripping wet, held up her clipboard like a badge. This is an HOA. Enforcement action. Carson just shook his head. No, it's not. Blocking a driveway is interference with property access. That's a civil issue, maybe criminal, depending on intent. Gloria sputtered. You're siding with him? He folded his arms. I'm siding with the law. And you're gonna move that gate, now. By hand, since you dragged it here that way. The look she shot me would have curdled milk. I didn't say a word. Didn't need to. She stomped through the mud, dragging that gate inch by angry inch, slipping and cursing the whole way. My crew actually clapped. When she finally cleared the last panel, she spun around, hair stuck to her cheeks, and shrieked. This isn't over, Franklin. I just gave her a thumbs up. See you at the next HOA meeting, Madam President. She stormed off, soaking and defeated. But if you've ever dealt with someone like Gloria, you know that wasn't the end. That was just round one. The rain barely let up as the sheriff pulled away, and my crew hauled the wood and tools back into place like nothing happened. But I knew, deep down, I wasn't just dealing with hammers and sawdust. Gloria didn't lose quietly. She relished power like some folks need. Their morning coffee, hot, bitter, and every single day. 2 days later, before dawn, I found a letter shoved under my door. No envelope, no postage, just a folded sheet on HOA letterhead. I had permits signed by zoning, fire, and environmental, all proper. But man, I was mad. And I had an ace in the hole that Gloria didn't know about. My sister Vanessa. Municipal code was her bread and butter. She's the kind of attorney cities hate running into. I snapped a photo of the letter and sent it with a voicemail. Gloria's poking the bear. By noon, Vanessa had drafted a reply that was pure poetry, calm, surgical, but absolutely lethal. She took apart every one of the HOA's claims, cited state law, and reminded them that interference with permitted construction could get real. Expensive, civil and punitive damages expensive. I printed that bad boy, stapled it to Gloria's cease and desist, and dropped both in the HOA mailbox. But I didn't stop there. That evening, I called 5 neighbors, the ones I knew weren't in Gloria's pocket, and we huddled in my garage surrounded by tool chests and old coffee cans. She's trying to find me into submission, I told them. But this isn't just about me. Any one of us could be next. Mara, 2 houses down, shook her head. She hit me last month for a wind chime. Said it was noise pollution. Keith, retired firefighter, chimed in. She cited me for using my smoker out back. Called it a fire hazard, even with a hose 10 feet away. I grinned. She's fishing for control. But if we push back, she can't isolate us. We agreed. Start collecting documentation, letters, warnings, fines, anything with her name on it. I volunteered to keep track. 3 days later, I got another HOA visit. Not just Gloria this time, but the full board. Gloria, her VP Neil, and Treasurer Darlene lined up on my porch like a firing squad. We've received a legal response from your sister, Gloria started. I corrected her. She's my attorney, not just my sister. Neil cut in. Your tone was unnecessarily hostile. We'd prefer to resolve this amicably. You mean quietly, I said. Darlene, face buried in her clipboard, said, the board is willing to suspend the fines if you submit a revised plan for review. I stepped outside, let the screen door slam behind me. You want me to revise a plan already approved by the city? Gloria's glare could cut glass. HOA approval is a separate process. Only if it doesn't contradict municipal code. I shot back. Neil cleared his throat. We're not here to argue legalities. Then why are you here? No answer. You're trying to scare me. But I've got every paper I need. If you push, I'll take it to the county. Gloria stiffened. Are you threatening litigation? Not threatening, I said, promising. They left in silence. 2 days later, the Real bomb dropped. Keith called me at dawn. You need to come see this. I shuffled down 3 houses. In my slippers. The front of a utility box was hanging open, wires cut clean, red-handled snips left in the grass like a calling card. Power's out to your construction site, he said. And only your site. Power company sent a tech, and after a quick look, he said, somebody cut your temporary connection. This was deliberate. Whoever did it knew what they were doing, isolated the feed so nothing upstream tripped. He reconnected it, but had to file a tampering report. I called Deputy Carson again. He took statements, photos, all the official stuff. This is an HOA business. Anymore, he said. This is property sabotage. Can you investigate? I asked. I'll file a report and refer it to the county. But honestly, you'd be better off with cameras. Already done 3. Motion sensors had gone up after Gloria's first stunt. I pulled the footage. Around 3 a.m., a figure in a poncho and wide-brimmed hat limped up to the box. Unmistakable. Gloria. I sent the clip to Vanessa. By the next afternoon, she'd filed an emergency injunction with the county, harassment, trespass, malicious interference. The judge signed it before dinner. That evening, a sheriff's deputy walked up Gloria's drive and served her. By nightfall, half the neighborhood knew she'd been hit with a restraining order. She couldn't step foot on my property or contact my crew. But the real shift came at the next HOA board meeting. Usually a ghost town, but now the place was packed. I brought a folder stuffed with everything: sabotage report, video, permits, legal threats. A list of neighbors harassed by the HOA. Gloria tried to run business as usual, mumbling about landscape compliance. I stood up. I moved for a vote of no confidence in the board. The room gasped. Gloria's face went slack. You can't. Robert's rules. I cut in. Any member can propose a motion. Mara seconded from the 3rd row. The vote wasn't close. 32-8. Board dissolved. Special election pending. That storm Gloria stirred up finally blew right back at her. My crew fired up the tools the next morning. No more gates, no more drama. And Gloria? She disappeared. At least for a while. Then the subpoenas started. County legal sent 2 men in blazers, county seal on the license plates. They posted a yellow envelope on her door, took a photo. I watched from my porch, coffee in hand, not feeling triumphant, just focused. Because what started as a petty little power play had become something bigger. Turns out, Vanessa had filed a criminal complaint. Police report, video evidence, pattern of harassment. It was no longer a neighborly dispute. It was criminal mischief with intent to disrupt lawful operations. Then Deputy Carson came knocking. Not for me. For Mara. She called right after. They found something, she said. I didn't ask. I had a hunch. A few days later, I met Joel Kessler, county legal investigator. He walked through my site, sharp suit. Leather folder. That wire that got cut, he said. 6-gauge copper, 200 amps. That's felony property damage. He studied the camera angles. She knew what she was doing. This wasn't random. You think she's done this before? I asked. He just nodded. That evening, Keith showed up with a battered shoebox, old HOA newsletters. Most were boring, but one stood out. 3 years ago. A house lost power during compliance corrections. Greenhouse vanished. Old couple moved out. You think Gloria did it? I asked. Keith nodded. The next Monday, county issued a search warrant. 3 cruisers, unmarked van, early sunrise. Boxes came out of Gloria's house. Folders, computers, drives. Word spread. The HOA group email list exploded. One neighbor asked, how many times has she done this? At the next meeting, the crowd overflowed the gym. Joel Kessler attended, silent but official. Neil tried to play it cool, but when the floor opened up, the residents unloaded. You signed off on her every time, someone yelled. We were just following her lead, Darlene stammered. I said, then your book needs rewriting. I called for a full audit, every board decision. Fine, and enforcement for the past 5 years. It passed unanimously. Within a week, the new interim committee found all sorts of shady stuff. Unauthorized spending, phantom landscaping bills, bogus security contracts to Gloria's nephew, fines collected on homes that had long since sold. The DA's office expanded the case. Neil and Darlene both resigned, banned from HOA office for life. The new committee capped presidential authority, required board votes for all actions, and made resident oversight permanent. My workshop finally stood finished, humming with light and power. For the first time in months, the neighborhood was quiet, not from fear, but peace. 3 weeks later, the last traces of Gloria's regime crumbled. Her name was gone from the website. The Facebook group now run by rotating residents. Meeting minutes scanned in public. Like a stage curtain ripped open, everyone could see the gears and wires and puppets. Then, one morning, an envelope taped to my workshop door. No note, no markings, just a thumb drive. I took it straight to Vanessa. She ran a scan, opened the files, dozens of audio recordings. Not just board meetings, conversations where Gloria coached Neil and Darlene on how to fabricate fines, how to cite made-up rules knowing most folks wouldn't check. She actually bragged about it. Vanessa looked up. This is systemic fraud. We turned it over to Joel. Within a day, more subpoenas were issued. The audit dug up something even uglier, a foreclosure against a widowed veteran, Mr. Redford, for nearly $20,000 in fake fines. The HOA, not a court, had seized his home. Vanessa shook her head. That's criminal fraud. Grand larceny. The DA filed new charges, racketeering, unlawful seizure, conspiracy to defraud. Neil and Darlene were arrested, too. Gloria's charges went federal, intent to defraud a protected class. The trial was set for fall. The new committee passed a resident bill of rights, third-party oversight, no more secret fines, no more off-the-books meetings. I stayed on as advisor but let new faces take the lead. Mara, Keith, even a quiet couple from the corner lot. The day of the trial, I sat in the third row. Gloria wore a navy blazer, eyes down. Neil looked lost. Darlene wept as the recordings played. Mr. Redford testified. So did Mara, so did I? The judge didn't take long. For years in prison for Gloria, parole after 2. Neil and Darlene got community service, lifetime bans from HOA office, and court-ordered restitution. Mr. Redford's home was returned. I walked with him through the front door. He just touched the old wood, tears in his eyes. The workshop was alive with projects again, but the real victory was something deeper. The neighborhood, once ruled by fear, had finally found its voice. People stood up, pushed back, and rewrote the rules. One evening, Mara came by with bourbon. You think we'll ever see another Gloria? She asked. I poured 2 glasses, smiled. If we do, we'll know exactly what to do. We sat on the porch, watched the sun drop behind the rooftops, and for the first time since moving in, I felt like I was home. So now, let me ask you, where do you draw the line between order and overreach? When does just following the rules becomes something darker. I want to hear your stories. Drop a comment below. Tell me about the battles you've fought for what's right. Because, trust me, you never know how much power you have until you stand up and use it.